The Circuit of the Americas is a circuit that is adored by both fans and racers alike, regarded as one of the great Herman Tilke's greatest works. This beautiful 3.4 mile, 5.5 kilometer circuit has played host to the United States Grand Prix and the FIA Formula One World Championship every consecutive year since its opening in 2012, along with several major events, including recently IndyCar and MotoGP. Today, it's playing host to another round of the Racers iRacing Series. Hello and welcome one and all to LSRTV and the penultimate round in the RRI. I'm Noel Rempo with Charles Wood beside me in the commentary booth for tonight. Now, Charles, this is definitely one of the most prestigious racetracks we have gone to all season. Of course, it is also one of the newest tracks you can find in the US as well. Constructed again only in 2012, the track isn't even 10 years old yet, and already it has grown to its fame has just grown on a global scale.
It definitely has. Again, and this track, I won't say one of my favorite tracks because road coursing not necessarily my cup of tea, as you might say. I don't understand the whole turning right to go and left. You know, I like to turn right and go left on dirt. But this is my home track as far as road course races goes. It is in the state of Texas. And, you know, I remember when this track was being built, Nolan, it was amazing. They did a lot of promotion stuff with this, with IndyCar, Formula One cars. And they actually had a car go out on the surface of this track when it was still dirt. They haven't even put any of the pavement in, the concrete surface in. It was really cool to see the outline of this track before it was actually ever, put into pavement.
Absolutely, a lot of promotions went into this track, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's grown to be such a famous track as it is. It's got a whole lot of elevation change, and it is definitely a very challenging circuit indeed. Once again, Herman Tilke, often a man who is known for not producing with us the best of racetracks, but this is regarded as one of the greatest, if not his greatest work that he has ever given us, besides, of course, the Formula One circuit in Sepang, Malaysia. But this is, of course, it's definitely one of my favorite road courses for sure. My favorite sections, right from turn 1 all the way up to turn 11. The big squiggly sections that you'll find from turns 3 to 9, definitely one of the staples of the track. It's said that there was completely earth that was moved itself to make some more of the elevation change in this track possible. You see on the track map, cars are still rounding around the circuit. We are about 22.5 minutes into this 40-minute qualifying session. I certainly can't wait to see what kind of a racing we'll be seeing here tonight.
Yeah, definitely going to be some good racing. Looking at the track map here, I'm not going to lie, it looks like a 2-year-old got a Sharpie marker and it just started squiggling stuff, and that's how he made the track. Obviously, these are precise tracks. A lot of work goes into how they're all done. But as we are in qualifying here, Nolan, we threw a little interesting curveball to the fans out there watching the timing on the left side of your screen. As you see right now, as of last week and every other week, yellowish, or the yellow color indicates your TA1 class, which is the Corvettes, and of course then you have the TA2 class, which is in blue. Before, they were all scored together on our end, 1 through 10, 1 through 15. Now our 1 through 5 and 1 through 10, they are actually different on the overlays, so the fans out there will be able to see who the class leader is in each individual class tonight.
I'll tell you what, it is going to be a very intense night because we are, of course, wrapping up the season, and we have still some championships to be decided. In your TA2 class, things are looking pretty set for Mark Miller, who's currently ahead with 100 points ahead of Lawrence Loshak, who's down with 76 points. Third place, 52 points, Phil Temple. So already, third place having half the points of first place. The real intensity, though, is in your GT1 class. Garrett Maines is in the lead with 95 points. Just 4 points behind, though, you got Theodore Burns in second place, looking to run him down. Donnie Leonard down with 66 points. In the overall championship, your top 3 separated by less than 10 points. Mark Miller with 100, Garrett Maines 95, Theodore Burns 91. All 3 drivers have gotten more than 1 win. 4 wins for Mark Miller, 2 each for Maines and Burns. And I'll tell you what, it's been a real thriller for sure. Mark Miller has got an average start and finishing position of 1. So he is known for starting the races on pole and finishing them on pole in his own class as well, which is one of the reasons why he has those 100 points, is taking those wins every single week, day in and day out. Still though, just 5 points separating him and Garrett Maines in the overall championship. He certainly has his work cut out for him. I think it's safe to say he's got that TA2 championship just about wrapped up. He can actually secure that in today's race. That overall championship, not quite safe for him yet.
Yeah, not quite safe yet, as we're watching right now. Tennyson Cole out in the number 57 machine. We'll see what kind of lap times he can throw down right now. 209.014. Again, there's a big gap. It's been a big gap each week when we come here between the Corvettes and the Cadillacs. About 201 is what you see, maybe a 202 for your Cadillacs, compared to a 206 to 207 for the Cadillacs. So there is a big gap in there. You know, we're in qualifying so far. Again, we usually see all the Corvettes out front. We have seen those Corvettes in the back before. Right now, Temple's one of those who has not completed a lap. He hasn't even attempted to get one out. If I'm him, I want to get out as quickly as possible. Even if it's a slow lap, I want to get a lap in.
Garrett Maines is currently sitting second place in the TA1 class, just 0.03 seconds behind Theodore Burns. I would like to go on board with Maines. Of course, it is a bit traditional at this point that we do a one-lap ride around with one of our drivers, so we may as well take a look on board for the lap here, as he's just now crossing that start-finish line. It was a 202.266. He was held up a little bit by Michael Peters just behind him in that number 95 Cadillac. This is the big uphill fight for turn 1. Expect a lot of overtaking moves to be done here, especially in the opening laps. And now, right here after turn number 2, this is my favorite section of the racetrack, taken straight from Silverstone's Maggots and Beckett's and then expanded upon. You start off with the flat out left-hand flick, then little dazzle the brakes through turns 3, 4, 5 through 6. It's really one of the most difficult places on the track. He's just now rounding through the kink of turn 7. Now for one of the slower corners in this opening sector, turn 8, and then turn 9. Right at that kink for turn 10, that's where he's going to kick off the timing sector number 2, which will run down all the way to the exit of turn number 12.
Yeah, this track, again, specifically, I bet we read around 21 turns of this track. More than any track we've been to so far here in the series. Again, it's a lot of turns. It's a really new track as far as, you know, relative to some of the others that were built. Watkins Glen last week, obviously a much older track than this one. And as far as I know, Nolan, this track here hasn't filed for bankruptcy either.
Well, certainly has not, and far from it, as Formula One definitely still does have plans to remain racing here well into the future. Now, we can see Garrett Maines in the technical third sector of the racetrack. Now, this is one of the more technical parts of the track, of course. Passing here is going to be a very big challenge. Now we're going to turn 16, 17, and 18, which, of course, is reminiscent of the Turkish Formula One circuit style turn 8. Now, for the final 2 corners, to one kink and then a hairpin. Turn 19 here. This is a corner we've seen some drivers already run wide of the AstroTurf. Gotta be very careful. It will invalidate a lap time if you run over that AstroTurf. The hairpin for turn 20 to finish off the lap before we get set to go racing for one more lap here today. You saw he got a 201.451 in this time. That's going to be enough to put him on provisional pole for now. Where did he get that extra 10th from? Well, that would come in the form of James French, who had a spin on the exit of turn 11. He managed to pick up the draft down that very long straight of turn 12, which is definitely going to be one of the key passing opportunities today.
Yeah, and you know, Nolan, as we go back and watch Mark Miller, he's back on the track. You know, I gotta point out those little tidbits of funny information on the track. As you look right there, as we call it the little squiggly turn there, where you go right, left, there's just a jumble of turns right there. Have you noticed what's above the track? It's a real turn that's literally looks like you're going right, left, driving all over the place. Right above you is the Tequila Patron and Budweiser.
You gotta wonder sometimes if sponsorship placements are intentional or not, especially at tracks like this. I mean, when you see stuff like that, you can only help but wonder.
Yeah, hey, you drive drunk, you wiggle and go all over the place. They put their signs right above it. It really does make you wonder if they do these sponsorship ads intentionally in certain places. But that being said, Mark Miller's still the fastest in his class right now with a 206.289. Lawrence Loshak a 207.264. He's got his work cut out for him if he wants to get by Miller. And obviously, you know, so far in this season, we've had a lot of fast drivers, but week in and week out, Loshak and Miller have shown that they are the class of this TA2 field.
Absolutely. These two drivers have definitely been fighting it out neck and neck throughout the course of the entire season. Again, it is looking like Mark Miller is going to be the driver to wrap up the TA2 championship. If he can have a good race here, he might be able to secure that in this very race. So, of course, we might have to wait for some confirmation on that one. After the race, one driver that also has it in for him right now is Theodore Burns, who's in a hot championship fight right now for Garrett Maines. At this point, TA1 championship has come down between those two drivers, Maines and Burns. Neither driver are going to be able to do this. It looks like Burns is slowing down. He might be actually bailing out of this lap and trying to get some temperature into the tires. You can see how he's weaving back and forth across the racetrack. This is commonly seen in drivers that are trying to get some more temperature into the tires at lower speeds. He's also stepping on the brakes, I'm noticing, so it looks like he's trying to get himself the tires warmed up and the brakes heated up as well. So he might be trying to maybe make sure that he can gun for that second lap. Careful not to overheat those tires though, Mr. Burns, as of course that could send the car into an easy spin too.
Yeah, he's definitely doing what he needs to do to try to put a heater lap in and see if he can get around this track. But like you said, you don't want to overheat the tires. So we'll see if he gets going. As there he is finally on the gas fully, as he's going to come around. I'm not sure what corner this is, but
16,
either way,
17, and 18.
16 to 17 and 18 it is. And you know, just an amazing facility. You couldn't see this track. You know, you've got the Circuits of Americas, so of course you got to see a lot of red, white, and blue and stars on it.
Oh, absolutely, a lot of red, white, and blue and stars. Probably one of the most patriotic tracks I've ever seen in my life, and my goodness, does it look beautiful. I'll tell you what, we do not have any tracks quite this patriotic up here in Canada. So Burns on his flying lap now, and at this point, the TA1 championship is down between these two drivers, Burns and Maines. If both drivers get good races today, they are going to completely shut out third place of Daniel Leonard in that battle. So right now, it's these two drivers that are duking it out, and Burns is trying to put himself ahead of Garrett Maines. He knows that he's just a tenth up the road, so he needs to make 1/10 of a second, and he will have himself set and secure. Did Garrett Maines just run into the pit wall?
I believe he did indeed. And what I want to point out here is I don't see him. Indeed, who was it we saw that was driving it? It is Williams. Excuse me. Williams posted in Discord earlier, had an amazing looking paint job here for this track, as I believe it was for this track, but we're not seeing that. He has the U.S. Army paint job on here, but he had again an amazing looking ETE Reman paint job, which of course is the sponsor of this series. And unfortunately, we're not seeing that on his car, so it is definitely unfortunate. It was really nice, Nolan.
Indeed, was certainly a very nice looking car. It's a bit of a shame, but hey, that U.S. Army paint scheme is looking very, very special as well. I am wanting to keep one eye on Burns. He's rounding through turn 18 now. He's been on a flyer this lap. Not quite sure if it's going to be enough to take that pole position away from Garrett Maines. He's just down through these final couple of corners. I'm very curious. He might have just validated this lap there by running wide in turn 19. Like I said, very inviting. The AstroTurf, something you really want to be careful for. Will this lap count? It will not. So that lap invalidated the second to last corner. He's going to have to try it all again.
It's unfortunate for him. Again, he did all that work to warm the tires up, get the brakes ready going in the corner, and then to invalidate the lap. And, you know, we say it week in and week out, These guys are out here trying to put laps in. Again, 40 minutes is double what it used to be for qualifying, so they gave them twice as much time, but still, that is not a lot of time to get a whole lot of laps in if you invalidate a lap. You know, if you invalidate it in the first corner or second corner, it's not so bad, but if you go all the way and invalidate your lap on, say, you know, turn 18, 19, 20, that is a heartbreaker, because you're gonna have to go back to the pits and try it all over again, and that's a good, you know, 4 minutes in by the time you do your warm-up lap and then your first lap.
Well, you got to think it's a 20-minute race, and we're getting about 2-minute laps here. We're not going to have more than 10 laps going into this race, so it's going to be a very, very short race. I mean, granted, every race has been short this season, but you know, only 10 laps at the very most. It's definitely going to be a very, very quick one.
Yeah, it definitely is going to be very quick, but we'll see how it all plays out. Garamain's still the fastest in his class, followed by Mark Miller in his class as well. So again, I think Mark Miller has a good shot at winning this, but as we know, Nolan, racing is racing. You just never know how it's going to play out. What's going to happen on the start? We could see this entire field spin the tires, cause a big wreck, and take out the entire field.
We've seen that happen at Road America too. You know, battles ended absolutely tremendous accidents. We saw that with one of our, I believe it was a Cadillac or a Corvette that ended up turning over just past the kink. So we've seen this time and time again. Well, just 4 minutes left in qualifying now. We're going to take a quick step away and give a bit of a word here to the sponsors of the series.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
They say everything is bigger. These guys down in Texas aren't messing around. This feature race will separate the boys from the men, the girls from the ladies. Can you handle racing 300 laps for $25,000? It's not as easy as you think. We don't stop to tow those too weak. We just push them out of the way. We don't run 20 laps. We run 300 each night. We don't care about what you and your boys have under the hood. Bring all you got. Don't be scared. Call my Cowboy Jack today to get signed up. It all goes down on October 2nd and 3rd in Mesquite, Texas, just outside of Dallas. Kenny Wallace is coming back this year to try again. You don't have excuses. Go to LoneStar600.com now.
Two minutes remaining, then qualifying. As of now, all drivers that are crossing the line will be going on to their final lap. Theodore Burns closed the gap to a 201.479 to Garrett Maines' 201.451.03, separating the two drivers. And one driver not going to get a lap in is going to be Raul Eli, is going to bin it into the turn 1 wall just off of the exit. It is now crunch time in qualifying. If we're going to see spots getting switched around, now would be the time to do it. Garrett Maines is still on course. He still will have time to get one more lap in to try to extend that gap.
Yeah, he doesn't have a whole lot of time, and we'll see if they, again, last week, if I recall, Nolan, unlike the previous weeks, when the time was up, did they have time to finish their lap or not?
They did. They did have time to finish up their last. That is open qualifying works. The checkered flag waves. All drivers on course get to finish their lap. You're not allowed to start another one, though. If you manage to somehow finish another lap with the time remaining, it's not going to count.
Yeah, it's definitely, you almost want to time it just perfectly where you get that extra lap when the track is clear. But then again, if everybody does that, the track's not going to be as clear. So it really is a thing. If it's me, you might put around that last lap there and make sure you can get to the line just before the time ends.
Well, this causes a bunch of qualifying mishaps like we saw in I believe it was the 2019 Italian Grand Prix in Formula One, where over half the field didn't get a final lap in a qualifying because everyone is looking to hold each other up because everyone is trying to get a draft off of each other and there was no clear track available for drivers to get their laps in. So this is one of the problems when it comes to these types of things. It makes qualifying so important. The checkered flag is waving though. Theodore Burns rounding through the final corner now. He's not going to have time to get that next lap in. Will this be enough for pole position? It will not. A 2:01.505. Theodore Burns going to have to settle for second place. Now we just got to wait to see if one of our other Corvettes can push on up there. Highly unlikely, as all of them are just about a second plus behind from Garrett Maines, who was also pulled off the track. He has bailed out of his last lap.
Yeah, we'll see. Like Leonard's the last one in his group to do so here. And again, we are going to try to reload paint, as we are getting words from Williams that he is in the new paint. Unfortunately, we're not seeing it. So I believe, what is it? Is it F4 or F5, Nolan, to reload those paints?
It is Control R.
Or Control R. We knew it was something like that. We were close, right? And so we're going to try.
Sort of.
And we're still getting the black paint, so unfortunate there. We'll try reloading those again here as we have the power of reload for paints. But either way, Donnie Leonard and Williams out. Lawrence Loshak also still out on track. These are the ones we're going to be kind of watching here to see if they can get a better lap and take to the top of the charts here in qualifying.
Lawrence Loshak did not get a fast lap, and he was 3/10 off of his lap, so I'm not going to get one. There, Donnie Leonard bins it hard in the second to last corner. He's not going to get his final lap in either, as he was hoping for. Now it's up to Jacob Williams to try to maybe top the charts. He's right now last place in his class. He's got 2 seconds to work up here on Donnie Leonard to improve his position. A pretty far cry for the number 32, and it's not going to happen. His lap was invalidated.
Yeah, he just off the screen that you didn't see, Nolan, as I saw the puff of smoke as Williams ran off the track as well, about the same time that Leonard did. So both of them invalidating their laps right there together, as there's only 2 drivers left. And of course, that's going to be David Brown in the number 21 machine, and still by far my favorite car out there is going to be that Raising Cane's chicken tenders at number 95. And it is true, if you ever eat a Raising Cane's, there is only one love, and that is Raising Cane's.
Michael Peters definitely just getting some extra practice, and he's already gotten his final lap. And not sure if the same is said for David Brown, who's just rounding through the final corner now. Well, if he was on his last lap, it might have just been invalidated. And in fact, he's also out there trying to get some extra practice in as well. So these are just 2 drivers that are looking to get a few extra seconds of practice in. Nothing that says you can't do that, so why the heck not? Have at it, boys. Just 10 seconds remaining before this session will come to a close. All drivers have finished their laps. So as we continue to get through these final 5 seconds of qualifying, well, Charles, as we get to set to go gridding up here, why don't you take us through your TA1 class starting order?
Let's go to it. We're going to break them down by class because that's how they are. We'll pull your grid up as soon as we can get it. There we go. As you'll see it here, this is by class. And you're for your Racers Racing iRacing presented by ET Reman. Class number 1 is going to be Garrett Maines and Theodore Burns. On row 1, row 2 is going to be James French and Donnie Leonard, followed by Jacob Williams and Philip Temples. On class number 2, your front row is going to be, no surprise, Nolan, Mark Miller and Lawrence Loshak. Right behind them going to be Nick Heems and Tennyson Hole. As we go down, it's going to be Roger Eagleton and Derek Kulach right behind them, followed by Jason Frank, Roll Eli, David Brown, Michael Peters, James Prestel Jr., Michael Fine, and rounding out the field here is going to be Felix Rue. Yeah, we'll get that one right. Rodney, holy God, we'll get it right here in a minute. And Bo Borders going to be rounding out your field in 14th. And my apologies to Felix. There is, I pretty much butchered that name.
The Felix Borodity, I feel, is how that name is supposed to be pronounced, but even I am none too sure on that one, so hopefully we'll get some kind soul to clarify that one for us. But, well, it's looking like it's going to be 20 cars here that are going to get set to go racing, 6 of them in the TA1 class, 14 of them in the TA2 class. Not a full pacing lap here. You're going to be taking it from about the halfway point on the track through to the start line, which is of course not uncommon for a few of these extra long circuits. I know other tracks that do the same. Monza is the most notable one for me, so it seems like we are going to be having a bit of a shorter pace lap. I'm telling you, we got to watch out for Theodore Burns and Garrett Maines. They have been so evenly matched over the course of the season. In their class, they have got 2 wins each, so they're separated by only 4 points. They are definitely the guys to watch, and could be where that championship battle really comes to a head here.
Yeah, and to note here, Felix, Phillips, and Bo not going to be starting. Philip Tinkles, he was one of your Corvettes, so he is not going to be starting, which means we only have 5 Corvettes, so 6 Corvette not going to be starting the race here tonight. That is unfortunate for him. We'll see if maybe he starts a little bit later, maybe just miss the grid. But again, disappointing for him to not be making the start, which limits this field to only 17 drivers here for tonight's race.
Well, as they round through the final corners now, we get set to go racing. Watch for that hairpin. There's going to be a lot of dive bombs, I can tell you that right now. The pace car pulls off. Garrett Maines gonna take them through the final corner, holding up the field as they hit the DRS line. And green flag still not gonna wave. That was the timing line they just crossed. Start line, of course, at the very end of where the grid would be for a standing start. Now the green lights are on and the green flag waves. We are off and away. 5 drivers thundering up the hill towards turn number 1, deep on the brakes. Burns gonna back out, and he's going to let Maines take that lead clean through turn 1. Now for the TA2 class, all turned away, a bit more messy. Tennyson Hall getting muscled out, looking 3, almost 4 wide behind them. Drivers like Raul Eli getting muscled off of the track, but for now, everybody's still on the circuit.
They are indeed on a circuit. Miller still out front with Lojack right on his heels chasing him down. Excuse me. Getting a little bit of cough going on here. And, a clean start for the TA1 guys, but there's only 5 of them. They usually have a clean start. Like you said, a little bit more messy. Ooh, as the 13's going to go around, everyone avoids him, and we keep going. But, again, a little bit more messy for these guys, but there, again, is a lot more of them. That stands to reason.
Certainly does. And now it's going to be all down to Theodore Burns, who's going to have a huge pull of the draft. You're up to Garrett Maines. This is the battle for the TA1 championship. This is going to be one of the best passing opportunities you're going to see on the track today. Will he make the look? He is going to make the look down into the hairpin of turn number 12. Side by side for the overall race lead. Theodore Burns going to go through, making it look easy, but here comes Garrett Maines trying to fight back. Hard on the brakes now for turn 13. Burns has to back out, but Maines runs it wide. Here comes Burns looking to fight back, so another undercut here. Maines has to get on the brakes early for the corner. Burns trying to arc it in again, but can't find his way in there.
Yeah, and while these two are battling it, look who's caught up in that Budweiser number 26 machine. That is none other than Donnie Leonard. So a 3-car battle for the lead right now in your TA1 as we take a look back. Oh, and again, we see on our timing screen red every time these guys indicating going off track or a possible wreck. But again, that's why you may hear us react a little more. Anytime they go off a road course here, you see that trigger. So it indicates just so we know to look there, Nolan.
Theodore Burns trying to arc it in under the exit of turn number 1. Maines ran a bit wide on the exit, still though looking clean and green up in front. Garrett Maines looking good to hold on to this race lead. He needs that win here today to maintain that points lead going into the season finale at Mid-Ohio. Theodore Burns still looking to duck it through behind him. This is a place on the track where you really cannot pass properly. You got to be oh so careful through this section. And right now, your 3 Corvettes up front, one of the closest battles you got on track right now with your TA2 class, starting to space out a bit here. Expect a lead change on the exit of turn number 12 as they head on down once again for one of 3 major hairpins on the track. We got set to go for once again the longest straight on the circuit.
And we zoom out so you can see all 3 of them bunched right there together. And this is the closest battle. Again, as we're watching, we go back here to your first and second, and actually you can even count third and fourth in here a little bit. These guys in the TA2 class, if you look here, they're about evenly spaced behind, kind of like a Sunday cruise out there for these guys. We'll see if that battle does intensify here in just a little bit, as you see Loshak maybe trying to make something, but then he goes off track. But those Corvettes, Nolan, still the battle that's on, as they're separated by about 2/10 right now.
They're battling for a championship too, not just a race win today. So these are 2 guys that, you know, they've been duking it out. Once again, they have been so evenly matched out the course of the season. Maines, though, I noticed he running significantly wide on these corners. Theodore Burns taking a much tighter line. So Burns trying to maximize entry and exit, it would seem, and certainly the mid-corner speed, while Garrett Maines might be trying to get some on the exit runs on the AstroTurf. It's not a good idea to try to run too wide of the AstroTurf too many times, because you could find yourself getting speared off the track. Theodore Burns is close enough to have that look into turn 1. He is going to make the look down to the inside. Maines not going to defend. Burns earlier on the brakes, though, than Garrett Maines. So Maines going to arc it in for the hairpin as they crest the hill. Burns not able to make the look. Gets a bit wide there onto the curbing of turn number 2. He's got to make sure, though, that he stays nice and close with him from turn 3 all the way up to turn number 10, so he can be close enough to make another dive bomb into turn 12.
Yeah, it was a very interesting move there by Burns. You know, like I said, he made the look like he was going to take the pass and then had to get on the brakes a little bit earlier than we thought. You know, I don't know that call there. Maybe he just didn't realize he was going to have to get the brakes on early. It's almost like getting an ice cream cone and then realizing you're lactose intolerant.
That's an analogy I've never heard before, so I guess that's one way of putting it, though. Now, Theodore Burns going to be once again on the offensive and still close enough. That gap under half a second, now under 4/10 and reeling in fast. The draft is very, very powerful with these cars. 3/10 now. Now a quarter of a second. Count that down to 2/10. He's going to make the look. He's going to be deeper on the brakes than Garrett Maines. Up the inside. Maines going to be forced to run wide off the circuit. So now Garrett Maines on the defensive. He's going to have to take a tighter line. Burns able to arc it in more. He's going to get a good run on the exit of turn 14. Can't quite make it, though. Maines still checking up early for these corners, because he's got to just break early to be able to make the corner and not run wide and just hand the position to him on a silver platter.
Yeah, he definitely is. And you want to see a good view of this? Let's go right here. Let's go to the rear view camera on that gearbox of Garrett Maines. And it's kind of spread out here at the moment by about half a second. But just keep an eye on that number 81 of Theodore Burns as he is slowly reeling it back in. Well, here in a minute, we'll see a really good battle. So we'll go back to our main camera for now. But when they get into these corners, I think we're going to see that front bumper right on the back bumper here very soon.
There goes Burns, who runs it way too deep into turn number 1, overshoots the corner, loses about 2/10 of a second right there. So he's just lost a massive amount of time, but he's gotten a bit more power on the run down the hill through turn 2. So it's ended up just about stabilizing at about half a second now. But Burns just has to make sure that he stays within half a second by the time to get around to turn number 11, or he's just not going to have the time or the speed to make that dive up into turn number 12. The gap is about 6/10 of a second right now, so Garrett Maines is definitely faster, just slightly through the opening sector of the racetrack, which is definitely seeming to hurt him here, hurt Theodore Burns, that is, here. I don't think he's going to be close enough this time to make the look into turn 12.
Yeah, and you know, I just noticed here, take a look here if we can get a good shot. You know, let's go to Donnie Leonard And let's go on board him and watch the brake lights if you can here. If we can get a good shot anyway of it, or Theodore Burns. Watch it when they hit the brakes coming into these corners. Right there, these corners are actually really lighting up those brakes pretty heavily. And so we'll stay on board here with Leonard. And some of these corners here, Nolan, as you've probably been around this track, you'll notice they just kind of tap the lights, and you see those lights flicker just a little bit.
Michael Peters has had a hard crash that's just put him out of the race, out of turn number 9. He found himself hooking around and pounding head on the Armco barrier. The engine let go. He's now sitting in the pits. That was the number 15 machine. The number 95, excuse me, of Michael Peters that have been to hard in turn number 9. He's done for the night. One car spinning around. That's Donnie Leonard in third place. That's just lost it as well. But I think that was turn 15.
Yeah, it definitely was, as we were on board with him too on top of that. And to note here, on top of all of this, that last time by, the last lap, Theodore Burns actually set, well, he was there for a second, the fast lap here in the session, but that quickly got taken away with Garrett Maines, who ran a 201.42.
Would like to turn attention a bit further back. Let's give our Cadillac some love. The battle for second place in there is on Lawrence Loshak on the defense from Nick Heems. This has been heating up throughout the course of the race. These two drivers are about 0.4 of a second apart. So right now, closest battle they've got on track right now. So this is exactly what he's wanting to see right now. Heems looking to be a bit deeper on the brakes. He's of course got that draft helping him down the very long straightaways to help him out there. So that's certainly making things very, very easy for him to keep with him right now. That gap under 0.4 of a second.
Yeah, and to note here, Raul Eli is now in the pits as well, so looks like he's not going to come to a little bit short as well. Unfortunate for him, but like you said, this is the closest battle for these guys, and actually now everyone is at least a second apart. This is the closest battle on the track, as Garrett Maines has started to pull away, and I stand corrected. That battle's on once again for the lead, and, well, 2 leads actually, and it's gone.
Indeed, Theodore Burns running a bit wide, got too opportunistic. Raul Eli coming back on track. Interestingly enough, it was not for a crash for Eli. He came down, put tires on it, and went back out. So it almost seems like it was a scheduled stop there for Raul Eli, which is very unusual when you consider that it's a 20-minute race, and already we've only got half the race remaining. Yeah,
definitely an interesting call there. You know, I don't know. Maybe his radio went over and told them they had some ice cream in the pits.
I mean, I would pull up for some ice cream.
I mean, and for the ones that don't know, that is a reference to Days of Thunder. You would have to watch it to know. But yeah, it's interesting. He just came in randomly there and took tires. So we'll see. Do you know if he took fuel or was it just tires?
Well, I'm trying to look at this now. He was in the pit box for about 17.8 seconds. So for all we know, it might have been only fuel that he took, because it does take longer than 17 seconds to change a set of tires out. So either that or he's only changing one side of things. So it looks like it might have been the fuel and some tires on that car. Still very, very interesting, though, to see from him. That battle, though, for second place in your TA2 class is still on. Nick Heems looking a bit more aggressive now as Lawrence Loshak went on the defensive for turn number 1. But in doing so, Loshak just lost himself some time. He did not need to go defensive for that opening hairpin.
He did not need to, indeed. We see a 201.49. Maines just ran his fastest lap of the session and the fastest lap of the session as well just now, as we're watching this one. A distinct battle for second place between Lawrence Loshak and Nick Heems in the Cadillacs, and a battle for the lead is underway as, oh, they make contact.
Oh, no!
Burns gets burned by Maines right now.
Oh, you gotta be kidding. Like I said, these are two guys duking it out for a championship. When you see something like that, that just shows how aggressive he's willing to be for that title. With that battle gone, Loshak still under threat from Heems, and he's certainly close enough to have that look down through the turn 12 hairpin. If he can get closer to the back end, he is struggling to get the draft that he needs, though, down the very long straightaway. Will you have a look and maybe go for a dive? He's not. He's going to stick it in line here, so he's elected to kind of keep things where it's at.
That one's gonna hang out there for a minute. While we do, let's take a look here, and this is what we came back to the very last bit of between Theodore Burns and Maines. He's flashing those lights. He takes a dive to the inside. Maines didn't know he was there, or just didn't care if he was there. He was coming into the corner either way. They make contact, and that is what we were talking about there, and we saw the tail end of it to begin with.
You know, usually people are saying it's the job of the overtaking car to make sure the pass is completed cleanly, but I gotta say that is kind of Garrett Maines' fault right there. I mean, he was fully alongside, even had the nose ahead, and Maines just turned in on him. So I feel like Garrett Maines, I don't understand why he wouldn't have known he was there. His spotter would have told him that he was there, unless he didn't have that spotter activated, which I would assume, why would you not have it turned on? But it's effectively just destroyed Theodore Burns' race right there, and that could give some huge championship implications for Garrett Maines as well.
Yeah, and we'll have to see how this plays out for Burns, as right now they're still not far. You know, that affected both of them. Obviously affected Burns a lot more, but both of them still fairly close together, all things considered. Here's we've completed 6 on lap number 7 here so far. We're predicting about an 8 to 9 laps here for a 20-minute race, as we are 13 and a half minutes in. The best battle on track, though, the closest one that's only half a second away, is between Nick Keems and Lawrence Loshak. Every other battle is at least over 2 seconds apart from each other.
Indeed, so a lot of drivers, definitely the battles are a bit spaced apart. Keems is still trying to close in to Lawrence Loshak. Loshak able to just pull away enough in that opening sector that Keems just can't get the run that he needs down the very long straightaway into turn number 12. So despite this battle being the closest one on course, it just isn't, you know, quite working out for that number 18 car. He really is struggling, but if Loshak runs wide like that, that's certainly going to swing things into the favor of Nick Keems, which Loshak has been prone to do all race. Now the gap all of a sudden has shrunk down to about half a second. It was down to 0.37 at one point. So Keems is still looking to close in that gap.
He is indeed, and checking in on social media and of course the stream here, and I believe we've started a trend, Nolan, as we got a lot of people out there now screaming and chanting for ice cream.
I see. Well, what flavor of ice cream are they wanting? Do you know?
They didn't say, so I'm not sure. You know, it sounds to me like we just need to go and get about every flavor, maybe a chocolate, some vanilla. I believe in the Days of Thunder they had vanilla. I'm a chocolate kind of person myself, so we'll see as this gap for second place has kind of sorted itself out for the moment, as you know, there's not really a battle going on for the overall lead and the class lead here in the Corvettes, but I do want to say that even after that contact between Burns and Maines just ran a 201.10. He just ran yet again the fastest lap in the session.
Theodore Burns ran at 201.3, and I should mention the gap was at 2.6 at the start of the lap. Right now, 1.7. He's gained 9/10 in this half a lap alone. So Theodore Burns is looking to close in that gap to Garrett Maines and maybe get some payback. And I hate to say it, but it might be well deserved. Burns is still trying to reel in that gap. The question is, does he have the time he needs to get it done? He's got 4 minutes left. Even though he's closing, I think he might need for Garrett Maines to have some pretty significant errors for him to be able to fully work his way back up there.
Yeah, and Nolan, isn't the saying revenge is a dish best served cold? Maybe it's ice cream cold.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. It might come in the flavor of post-race contact. I'll tell you what, it wouldn't be the first time that I've seen it. 1.5 seconds down. That gap is really closing. Burns is on a mission right now, trying to reel in that gap, but he's going to run turn 1 wide, which is going to cause him to sacrifice about 1/4 of a second. Still, though, he is definitely closing in. So whatever damage Burns has in that car clearly is not affecting the performance.
Yeah, you want to talk about not affecting his performance? He just ran a 2:minute.65. The first driver today, or tonight technically, and in this session to run a 2-minute flat. So he was 1.2, about a second faster. So he is definitely on the move. I don't know if that damage isn't affecting him or if he's pushing this thing a lot harder than he was.
That is activated a hidden turbocharger on the inside of that car. That would be my third guess, so to speak, from there. Just for reference, the 2-minute flats, this was not achieved in all of the 2-hour practice leading up to this race or the 40-minute qualifying. And now with just 2.5 minutes to go, he put that lap in on worn tires. So I think it's safe to say that Burns has got one driver setting his sights. The gap, 1.3 seconds now. They've got only one lap remaining, though, at the line. They've only got time for that one lap. He's going to have to put in about another 1.5 seconds on the next lap in order to be able to reel in that gap. I really almost hope that 2-minute flat lap was not a one-off.
Yeah, we'll see as they're going to be coming to the line here momentarily as we're going to be going by some Budweiser and Tequila Patron up on the billboards there. Garrett Maines, though, is still your race leader. And, you know, if it doesn't change and Burns stays in second, as we'll see there, Burns just had another 2-minute flat, 0.65, the exact same time. We'll see in that time it's going to be a 2:01.08, so not the burner lap that he had there the last lap, but still 0.4 faster than your race leader.
And now he's just about within that draft window. To remember, the gap, in order to get the draft, you need to be about 1 second away. Right now, he's 1.05. He is reeling him in, and he's got the potential to potentially even have a look before this race is over. It's 1.2 now, so he's just had a terrible corner there, but still, Burns is closing that gap. And I have a feeling if he maybe had one extra lap, he might be able to do it. I don't know if he's got the time, though, to be able to work his way up there. It's 9/10. He's within the draft, but he's only got one big drafting opportunity left, and they are approaching lap traffic of Raul Eli. They're not going to have the time, or Burns is going to have the time to reel in that gap.
Yeah, I don't think he is either. His best bet right now is to hope that lap car Eli Raul Eli causes some issues for your race leader. And it really, Maines can't say, you know, I'm just going to slack up here and not try to fight this lap car, because if he does, it's going to allow Burns to catch him. And you see Burns there flashing them headlights. He knows he's faster, and he wants to get by, you know, as quickly as he can.
Well, the lap car moves aside. That was Raul Eli letting the two lap cars through. So now Burns is within 0.8 of a second. If he had just one more lap, he'd be able to do it. But he does not have one more lap. He is on the last lap. About 2 minutes just cost Burns the race. It's going to be Garrett Maines who's through the penultimate corner. The gap to 0.6. Now 0.5 second. It's not going to be enough. Garrett Maines comes off the final corner to take victory here at the Circuit of the Americas. Theodore Burns brings it home by just 0.581, just over 0.5 second between first and second place. Donnie Leonard crosses the line, 9 seconds back in, of course, that third place. Mark Miller, though, still on his last lap. He's just now through turn number 12.
Yeah, and these guys, Mark Miller's pretty much wrapped this one up. This battle's still about 7/10 apart of each other, as Nick Heem's still trying to run down Lawrence Loshak. Hasn't been able to catch him just yet. We'll see if he's able to. Again, we are pretty confident Mark Miller gonna get the win unless something happens. We'll switch to him here in just a second just to see him cross the line, as he is 9.92 into his 10th lap, and right there he is going to be coming to the line. This, of course, is one of the last set of corners he has to go through. He's right there, going to be scored as your race winner in the Cadillacs. There is the only other real battle going on, and it's not going to matter. It's going to be Loshak that takes second, and Nick Heems that takes third.
And I'm pretty sure that Mark Miller has just won the TA2 championship as well with that victory, because now he is going to be over 25 points ahead of second place in that class. So like I said, I'm pretty sure that now Mark Miller just won himself a championship here tonight.
They did indeed. So, again, unofficially until we know, but we're based on our napkin math. Nolan, I think we're safe to say he is, and he's celebrating quite a bit. Of course, that is for the win itself. We'll see if that does. Give him the win when we talk to him, and I'm sure we'll talk to Lawrence Loshak as well, as he did finish in second place. But we, of course, will grab your unofficial race results up onto the screen real quickly before we move to the post-race show. Of course, starting with class number 1, as we'll go onto the screen. Not very many cars here in class number 1, but it's going to be Garrett Maines, Theodore Burns, Donnie Leonard, Jacob Williams, James French, and then, of course, Philip Temple's not making the call here for tonight's race. Though unfortunate for him, as we'll switch over to class number 2, and we'll let them pull up onto your screen. And that is going to be Mark Miller, Lawrence Loshak, and Nick Hughes going to get your top 3 podium positions, followed by Roger Eagleson, Tennyson Hole, Jason Frank, Derek Gulash, James Proustel Jr., David Brown, Raul Eli, Michael Peters, who just didn't have the race he wanted here tonight, followed by Michael Fine, Felix Annabo did not start the race here tonight. That, of course, will do it for your race results. We're going to step away for a quick break, Nolan, and let's come back with your post-race show brought to you by Clan War Servers.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the LSRTV post-race show presented by Clan Wars Servers. An intense race here at the Circuit of the Americas with some, well, shall we say, some certain fireworks being fired off in a couple of directions around the field. I will say, though, we do, of course, have to give a big congratulations to Mark Miller for winning the TA2 championship after missing the first round, winning every race since to clinch it here at COTA today. We do have a few drivers that are standing by to talk with us now. We're going to kick things off with second place here in the Cadillac class. Lawrence Loshak, Cody is standing by with him.
I am, and we do have the man that put it all together here. That is Lawrence Loshak. You come in the second place here tonight, as we usually start with third, but we don't have third here, so you get second place. You had a good run, just not quite enough to catch Miller there, and unfortunately, by not being able to catch him, he gets the championship. But we're coming up on the last race of this series. What's it been like out there for these 5 races going into race number 6 next week, for broadcast-wise anyways?
Well, it's been a pretty tight battle with Mark, which I've really enjoyed. Honestly, I threw away the championship, in my opinion, on my home track at Road America the last round. That was my race to win for sure. Drove off in the carousel and, tried to play catch up, but it is what it is. COTA is really, really difficult in these big pig cars. Hey man, it's Mark Miller. So, you can't make any mistakes. You got to hit that setup right. And Mark sure makes it interesting. It's fun to chase. And, I put on the series, like you said, so I couldn't win it. So I had to let Mark win. No, but all joking aside, it was a really good race. It was great.
Well, it definitely was a good race, and we like to joke, say, yeah, you can't win it if it's your own series, but you definitely gave him a run for his money here. Loved coming to this track. Obviously, this is my home track here in the state of Texas. We have Mid-Ohio coming up next week on the schedule. What are your thoughts on that particular track?
Well, Mid-Ohio, I'm really strong at Mid-Ohio. I love Mid-Ohio, but, there's no way I can make up that gap now to Mark, but I'm sure going to give him hell, so can't let him win every race. So maybe next race we can finally get that W.
Well, all out for the win is the last race in series, and we know you got people you got to thank for making that car fast. Who would those be?
Well, got to thank ETE Reman, right? That's our series sponsor. Pennzoil, and all the guys who participated to make this a great series. I mean, this is our first season. Turned out to be a blast. I mean, we huge fields, clean racing, a lot of viewers. So it's great. It's a lot of fun, and that's what it's all about during these times. It's just great. It's a lot of fun.
Well, definitely is a fun. We're glad to be here. And of course, that is going to lead us to the man that won tonight's race. He won the championship, didn't even know he won it. He thought there were like 8 more races to go in the season, but he comes away with the win here tonight in the championship. That is the number 5, Mark Miller in the Cadillacs. Mark, you got the win, you get the championship. Does that mean you get 2 chicken dinners and twice as many trophy girls?
Every time you ask about chicken dinners and trophy girls, and I've got a trophy girl upstairs, which I'm very happy about, and I will enjoy chicken tonight, I guess. I will go out and get it if that's what it takes, but this was a lot of fun. One, big thanks to Lawrence for putting on the series, and ETE Reman for sponsoring it. I missed the first race, so this the reason I'm doing this is because it's so much like Trans Am racing, and with the way the cars drive, and it's a lot of fun. All the guys race clean, they race really hard, and it's a tough series to race in. So I really enjoyed it. About November of last year, I left COTA as the 2019 Trans Am champion after winning that race at COTA and starting from pole. And I just realized it, but that's exactly how this happened too. So it's really cool that that went down that way, and it's nice to be like a double Trans Am champion kind of. So I'm really excited to be able to leave here this week with a win and a championship, and also big thanks to Procure It Network and Simcraft, Sawbelt America, all of my partners who came on to join me in this series and put a heck of a paint scheme together by another competitor. James Purcell Jr. did a great job with my paint scheme, and it looks good. It's been a lucky charm because it's got 5 wins in a row, so pretty happy about that.
Well, definitely, if the paint job is working for you, do not change it. As you go into Mid-Ohio next week, same kind of thing. Thoughts on the track? You think you got a strong car going into it?
Yeah, I do actually. I really also like Mid-Ohio. I am pretty strong there. I won there last year in the Trans Am series, and just missed out on pole. But I know, like COTA, like this track is really difficult. It's a challenging circuit. It has there's places that you can need to give up a little bit to gain a little, and I went back and kind of put a monster lap together in qualifying, and that gave me a lot of confidence going to the race. Mid-Ohio is a very similar type track, except there's no long straightaways to relax in. You're busy 99% around the track, which will be really good racing, but there will be a lot of mistakes that happen, a lot of opportunities for beating and banging a little bit. And if you put a wheel wrong there, it'll cost you. And here you can kind of get away with it. You've got some runoff. You can kind of miss a braking zone and go wide. You may lose 3 or 4 tenths, but you're not going to be off track. You're not going to lose a lot of positions. But Mid-Ohio, you can't make a mistake, and you have to be really strong, and the setup has to be really consistent over the course of a race. So that's the goal, is to get in one of those practice sessions next week and hopefully end the season as strong as I've started it.
Well, definitely finishing strong is good. You obviously did it here. It's a night. Any last people you think one more time before we let you go?
Yeah, once again, Procure It Network and Sawbelt America. Sawbelt's been my safety equipment sponsor, my racing suit, Nomex underwear, gloves, shoes, racing seat, racing steering wheel, and we are doing some promotions to celebrate the championship. So if anyone wants to hit me up, I can help them out with some discounts on Sawbelt equipment. Simcraft, big thanks to them for setting me up with the pedals and a wheelbase just to get going on simulator racing again. And of course, Procure It Network, been a big sponsor in Trans Am last year, was on every one of our Stevens Miller racing cars last year, and it was nice to be able to feature them this year. This is one reason why I don't start my own series, is so I can win the championship. So unlike Lawrence, who has to finish second because he started the championship and that would look bad, I really appreciate him doing the series. It's been a lot of fun, and he and I never really got a chance to race against one another. I didn't race in Trans Am when he was racing TA2. He was in TA1 when I was racing in TA2, so this has kind of been a lot of fun to be able to race wheel to wheel together.
Definitely, it's been fun to watch as well. Again, congrats on the win and the championship. And I believe that is going to bring us to the Corvettes here, the TA1s. And I believe no one has caught up with our third place driver, Donnie Leonard.
Well, not quite Donnie Leonard, but I have caught up with your second place finisher, Theodore Burns. Theodore, after, shall I say, an interesting tangle there with Garrett Maines, you ended up coming in big with a really strong charge and still only finished half a second behind him. One more lap, you think you would have been able to find your way through?
Garrett was very tough to pass there all race, so I don't know if I could have quite gotten past him, but I know I for sure caught him, and probably could have made him a little nervous there, given if we had one more lap.
Well, I'm pretty sure he would have been looking a little bit nervous when you put in that 2-minute flat time. I mean, you're the only driver to break into the 2-minute range out of everybody in the whole of 2-hour practice and a 40-minute qualifying, and even the 20-minute race. You were the only driver to do that. You were on a mission tonight.
Yeah, I guess you can say that. I was trying to get not only the win tonight, but a couple extra championship points going into the finale. So put in a lot of practice this week, trying to dial in the setup and get the car as fast as could be. And I guess it all culminated right there at the end and it had to be quick to try and catch back up to him, and I was able to put in a couple of those flying laps and at least try and give myself a shot there at the end.
Maines may have pulled away in the title today, but you do still have that last race at Mid-Ohio. Do you think you might be able to pull something out of your hat and maybe make one last final charge of that title going into the final race next week?
If Garrett's there and racing healthy, it's going to be a pretty tough battle for me. He's gonna have to, I guess, really drive beyond I think what I'm capable of there to really be able to seal the deal. It's pretty set in stone for Garrett if he's able to get there and be quick. But love to give him a nice battle and try and bring it all the way down to the wire.
Well, you never know. Anything can happen, as races like Watkins Glen and Road America have demonstrated. Before we let you go, who helps you to be fast for you tonight in that number 81 Corvette?
I'd like to give a big thanks out to Lawrence for hosting not only the league, but all the practice sessions and stuff that allow us to get in and get our setup so we can become fast here. Also, ET Reman for sponsoring the series. And again, I'd like to thank LSRTV for the great broadcast you guys put on every week. I enjoy going back and rewatching it after we're all done here.
And thank you, Theodore, for taking the time to join us. Going to move things along now to the victor in your TA1 class today, Garrett Maines, who's again pulling away with that title fight. You got 11 points now, I believe, separating you and Theodore Burns. How are you feeling going into the final race? Garrett Maines, do you have a copy? It would appear that we do not have a copy of that Maines. There we go. Now we can hear you.
That was weird. It was keying up. Going into the last race, just really hoping I can show up. With the schedule the way it is, it moved up, I think, like 45 minutes. I barely squeaked in last week. Didn't have a setup or anything set up for the race. I wasn't expecting it to be that early. I run Road to Pro in the iRacing on the oval side, and it ends. That was the earliest it would end all season, and it's going to be a little bit later this week. So if I make it, it'll be because it's been moved up. Just fingers crossed. Honestly, it hangs on that. But if we do make it, I definitely feel pretty confident as long as I'm not embarrassing myself like I did at Road America. I think I have to finish in the top 3, or maybe I get away with 4th, but I think it's top 3, and I'll seal the deal. But we'll see. I've never raced at Road America, or sorry, not Road America, Mid-Ohio, and that was actually my second race at COTA, and I remember why it was only my second race. Not a fan, but Ted was on a roll tonight. Like, the pressure he was putting on early, I was just trying to like hold him behind me and not make any mistakes, because I didn't feel comfortable in a lot of those corners with charging it. And it's, most of the time I'm comfortable getting on the edge, but that track just, it flows really weird for me, and I have not found like the line. And when it comes to like flat corners, it can be difficult, especially in the GT1 car. So just hoping we can make it to the next week and have a good battle.
Well, clearly you and I have very different preferences when it comes to our circuit preferences then. Would like to move a little bit further back to that incident where you and Burns tangled in turn 12, and Burns ended up, again, a bit worse off than you on that deal. But what did things look like from your end in the middle of all that?
Yeah, I saw him with the run down the straightaway. I saw him move, into the braking zone to make the dive, but once he did that, he disappeared. Like, I couldn't see him in the mirrors or anything like that, so I just turned in, gave him 2 or 3, I think it was 2 lanes down there. I didn't know where he was, and then we hit, and I was like, well, I don't even know if he ran into me or if I turned out on him until I watched the replay, but I think he just thought he was a little bit further than he was, and I couldn't see where he was, so I just kind of had to guess. I couldn't just run myself off the track, but it definitely sucked when I saw him spinning. I was like, well, dang. But he gave me a nice buffer there to kind of, roll around and not push too hard, and I saw him coming there at the end, but as long as I kept it on the track, it was kind of sealed. Just no mistakes.
No mistakes indeed, and well, it's been definitely a very strong season for both you and Theodore so far. We look forward to keeping an eye on that final fight that's looking to be wrapped up in the season finale coming up next week. Before we let you go, who helps you to be fast in that number 9 Corvette?
well, I got to give a shout out to AJ at ECC Motorsports. Got to thank him for the invite to this series, but also got to thank Sim Seats, Butt Kicker, Bruzy, 101 CBD, Strickland Hardy, all the guys over at Legacy Esports for all the help, Road to Pro, NIS, all that stuff. And also got to give a shout out to Richmond Raceway and thank them too. Thank you guys for the broadcast. It's been good.
And well, it looks like we did actually manage to catch up with the third place finisher in the TA1 class. Donnie Leonard has come on over to give us a little bit of a chat. Cody, you're standing by with him.
I do indeed have Donnie Leonard here with us. First off, welcome here. A little late, but fashionably late is good. You're still here with us. But first off, you get third place here tonight. You almost had it, just third places couldn't quite get up to first and second. What do you think you needed to run those two down here tonight?
Well, staying close to him, and I just made a little mistake, and it cost me a couple seconds, up to them. But, I was hoping those two would get into each other while it's behind him, so I was able to capitalize on something like that, but that didn't happen.
Again, they did get into each other just a little too late for you to capitalize off of it. So still a strong run. Third place, always a good night when you can finish on the podium, get your picture taken, and go into history as a podium finisher here at COTA. But we have Mid-Ohio coming up next week. Thoughts on that? Do you think you have a strong car, maybe a contingent for the win here to wrap out the season?
I think going from COTA to Mid-Ohio would definitely help. If we went from Road America to Mid-Ohio from, a fast to slow track, it'd be harder to adjust. But with the stadium section with COTA being somewhat similar to Mid-Ohio without the elevation, I think it'll be a little bit easier of a transition. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, we'll definitely be looking to see maybe you can take it into victory lane. Not sure if there'll be a season 2 or what's going forward, but assuming there is a season 2, we're just going into another series. If you happen to be going to that, how much would that momentum be to get that victory here on the final race of the season?
It would definitely be great. Getting a win here and then maybe taking that, going into another season would be a massive momentum for me. So we'll just see what we can do. We'll sit back and run as many clean laps as we can and stay close to Ted and Garrett.
Well, there you have it. And of course, last but not least is the ones that make it fast. Who tinkers on it? Any sponsors on there you got to thank as well?
I'd say Bud Light, but I don't like it, or Budweiser, but I don't like it. But definitely Ted and Jake for the setup. We've still kind of been tweaking on it, and ETE Reman and Low Shack for putting this on, and you guys for broadcasting.
All right, there you have it, though. We'll throw it back to Nolan to wrap things up.
Will indeed. So just one more race, and another 20 minutes of racing to decide the championship. Again, your TA2 championship has been wrapped up. Mark Miller coming away with the victory after what has been quite the dominant season for him, missing the first race, winning every race he has entered since to put himself up and into the no other better way to say, and really quite simply the victory for the season here tonight at COTA. Still got that 11-point gap in your TA1 class that needs to be wrapped up as well. Certainly cannot wait for that. And don't forget, we do still have the overall title as well, which isn't quite wrapped up. Mark Miller still only 5 points ahead of Garrett Maington. Might look to give him a run for money in the overall set of things as well. With that, though, it is going to be time for us to sadly end another broadcast here of the Racers iRacing. We thank you all for joining us here today on LSRTV. Well, we'll see you guys all next week for the season finale.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSRTV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of 52 Media LLC and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. LSRTV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.